This is the Let Me Think podcast, and today we're going to be talking about divine feminine energy. We have a special guest today, Linds of Radiant Revolution. My name is Emily, and I am one of the co-hosts of this podcast. I am a spiritual coach, and I teach meditation and Ayurveda. And my co-host Gosha, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Gosha. I'm a self-love authenticity coach, spiritual mentor, and I would like people to step on the self-love journey, self-awareness, and just to begin living more fulfilling lives on their terms.
Great. And so our guests were very excited to talk to Linz today. Would you like to tell us where you are located and what you do?
Sure.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm in Maine and in my office at my home in Maine. And I am a Reiki practitioner and I would say an intuitive guide, right? Like a channel. And I use that in combination with energy coaching to help people access their self mastery so they can navigate their lives and also like energetic alignment. So trying to tap into the ease instead of always resisting the flow of life.
Yeah. And that's very important. And she's amazing, by the way. I have no idea, have no recollection of how I found you originally, but you have been a big influence on me. It was definitely Instagram, but I don't remember
Yeah.
why or how. It's like the universe brought you to me, and I didn't even think tarot was significant or did anything until I started watching your videos. So you convinced me. That was more than a year ago. I can't remember. Anyway, so
Yeah.
thank you. But you also alerted me. I never thought about how important it is to tap into and channel and embody my divine feminine energy, like that archetypal energy. Now I think of it as archetypal, like goddess energy. But also, every time you talk about it, it makes me think about it in a different way. So
Mm.
the first question we have for you is, how did you discover it? And how did you discover that it's important?
Well, that was a really good segue because when you say every time we talk about it, we see it and think about it and feel into it in a different way, that's totally what happens to me. And I think the very first time I started to recognize anything to do with feminine and masculine energy was just the fact that I was a very burnt out mother.
Oh,
And I was very confused as to why and this still comes up for me today, why I was constantly doing all the right things and on top of everything, go, go, go. But I didn't enjoy much of my life and I never relaxed. And I just didn't feel good in my body. I didn't feel sensual. I didn't feel feminine. And so I guess the lack of feminine in my life uh, and in my body, which is ironic because I come from a very long line of strong women. So femininity in that way was always present in my life, like my aunts and my grandmother and my mother. And so I felt like I was surrounded by strong women, but then yet I still felt like I didn't have feminine energy in my life. And all the way through for the past 5 years, up until a recent vacation I took with my boyfriend, it literally is like pulling a thread and re-sewing it into a tapestry and sort of like reconnecting to feminine energy, learning about it in a new way, and looking at different components as they show up in my life over and over and over again. I don't think anybody can say they're like an expert or they've got it figured out at all. And if they say that to you, I would say so. Yeah, I think it's just revelation after revelation, and I don't know as though there's any person or book or one thing out there that I said, oh, yep, you know, now I get it, right? It was more like how it was showing up in my life over and over and over again.
Wow. And so how did you start, I don't know, like use practicing channeling it and using it in your daily life? What changed?
Well, in the very beginning, I think as being like a burnt out mom, and then I went through a divorce and I became a single mom. And so it kind of like amplifies, right? For single mothers, they tend to be more in their masculine because they're doing all the things. And so I think in the very beginning, it was a lot of like undoing, unbecoming, doing less, and a lot of self-love and self-care because I was so in the deficit of my own feminine. And so that was like the first thing. It was just a lot of like self-love and self-care. And then as I started to feel more relaxed and more radiant, then it's been taking those lessons when I feel feminine and sensual and free, and seeing how they apply to like my love life and money and my daily schedule, and how they interplay with the masculine, right? Because you can't have one without the other. You have both inside of you. And I think, honestly, I think this is probably going to piss some people off, but like modern day feminism, I feel like we've kind of slingshotted ourselves forward. And so we tried to win at a game without changing the game. So we tried to win against the patriarchy by really like becoming winners of our masculine energy, doing things the way men showed us they should be done. And we got really tough. And we forgot how to be tender. So really, I think it's about like taking a step back. And I think modern feminism is about knowing how to heal and embody your feminine energy, but also utilize your inner masculine energy in this like inner courtship and dance within you. And so now that I've sort of done that self-care and self-love work, right, and done the things that feel really good, now I take real life examples as I'm going through them, and I sort of like think them through and channel information and try to sort of create wisdom around them. I wouldn't say there's actually specific practices that I do every day, except for dancing. That's a really good one. But
So how do you know when you slip back into the masculine?
well, you don't feel good. You feel tired, you feel stressed out, you feel burnt out, you feel like you're chasing. I feel like masculine energy is like the arrow, right? It's point A to point B. It's very linear. Masculine energy is very generous. It's very, this is what I want. I'm willing to be embarrassed to say it and ask for it and show you what I have to offer. And so you have that in you. Probably you would use that sometimes in your business. But especially in personal lives, I think for women in dating, sometimes it becomes very apparent is when we're in our masculine energy, we're not an arrow. We're kind of have that like thirsty or chasing type energy instead of like a leaning back, attracting energy. Whereas we tend to think power comes from action. But if you can think of like a queen has all the power and all the responsibility, yet she sits back and people come to her with the offers and the opportunities and the information. And then from that place of like leaning back, she decides and discerns and thinks and asks questions and weighs the options. And so you can't just be in one all the time. And I think that's the problem sometimes in the spiritual community, this whole divine feminine embodiment thing. It's like the masculine is terrible and embody your feminine energy. And it's like, well, you can't have one without the other. One is the bucket and one is the water. We need both all the time. You have a core energy, feminine probably. And so knowing that that's core and stronger and your go-to, sure. But how can you just sit in feminine energy? That would be like, I'm just going to meditate and paint and lean back and do nothing all day, and I'm never going to birth into the world the things that I'm creating. So it's like, That's like, I think that's the myth busting piece of it, is you have to have this inner courtship. And once you have that inner courtship where you're in your masculine, creating a safe place for your feminine kind of can like come out more. But if you're tired, burned out, confused, not embracing the unknown and allowing that void energy to take place, always pushing through the void without floating in it and saying, but I need to know, but what about this? But what do I do about that? That is kind of a sign that you're too much in your masculine instead of allowing that feminine space, the divine timing of it.
Yeah. And so what else do you think characterizes divine masculine energy as opposed to divine feminine? Like, what words would be used to describe both of those?
Generous with time, effort, energy, money, supportive, kind of linear is a great word. I once taught this class for men on how to know women and love women. It was called the Good Guys Club, and in that I said, you're the mission. You're trying to figure out what the mission is. All you need to do is pay attention, and so you just have to look and notice and offer. And at that time, I said it's kind of like when you're at a concert, right? And the divine masculine is like the partner, the boyfriend, and of course, I'm talking as a straight woman, so these metaphors are from my perspective, my standpoint, kind of how I live my life. But apply them in any way that fits your relationship and your sexual preference. But the divine masculine is like the boyfriend or the partner or the husband at the concert. He's holding the line, while the feminine is enjoying the music, dancing, being free. She has that safe container, like the bucket, and she's the water. And so it's kind of like, I always say that, like holding the line, creating a place for the feminine to feel free. And I think a lot of women don't feel free. They don't feel sexual in their relationships. They don't feel sensual. They don't feel safe with their own money. They don't feel playful. I know in marriage, a lot women are like, I don't want to have sex. I don't feel playful. I don't feel free. And I think that's all that polarity between them and their partner is like, one is trying to be in the masculine, it's pushing the other into the feminine. So masculine energy, holding the line, linear, generous, willing to be a risk taker in a brave and courageous way. Like, this is what I want. This is what I offer. This is what I like. Do you like that too? Do you want that too? And it's very expressive. And I think a lot of older men, maybe potentially, are avoidant versus expressive. So I think that's where we lost that piece in the masculine.
Yeah, there's so many, especially men, but women also avoiding being vulnerable and talking about their needs and wants openly with the partner or with even friends or even at the workplaces, right, in the everyday life. There's lack of that balance between masculine and feminine, right?
Right, because I feel like we learned along the way, if the game is masculine and this is what masculine means, then I have to play it like that. And so both sides are all messed up, because now vulnerability is a beautiful thing. And if, closed mouths don't get fed. So if you're not speaking up and expressing yourself and saying how you feel and saying what you want, then we can't read each other's minds. And I think being vulnerable is very hard for me, especially. But in the last 3 or 4 months, it's really served me well. But I think we think of vulnerability as like a weakness.
Yeah.
It makes us look weak.
Yeah.
I have another question. I think about this a lot lately. Maybe you have the answer. I think of like masculine divine energy. So I have a lot of connection in my life these days with like ancient mythology from India and all other cultures, really. And I think all old cultures and religions and creation myths, creation stories, uh, I think all of them say that the masculine was the creator of reality, or the universe, or the planet, like the sky god, or just like this conscious energy, and feminine is very earthy, and it's like the earth and the sky, right? Or that the feminine, you know, the feminine energy we always think of as like being able to give birth. But anyway, my main question here, there's a lot of things we can say about everything I just said, but where does creativity come in? Is it in both? Because like feminine energy can give birth, it can create, like women, we can, and in our human bodies, we can create another person. But in feminine energy, that's very creative, right? But also masculine energy is creative. So are they both, like in your mind, are they both just like creative together? Like they need one for the other, or
Yeah.
they're not opposites, they're not total opposites, right?
No, and I think this is where every woman and every man has to start to look at all of these things through their own personal lens and play around with what it means to them. You could think about it in a lot of different ways, but I think women women can't create life by themselves. And again, we're talking energy, not just the feminine gender, but at the same time, we have that void and incubator type energy. We have that sacral vibe, but we take from another and we amplify it, we incubate it. So one could even say masculine energy gives to the feminine amplifies it, rectifies it, incubates it, and then masculine energy again comes in to help in a linear way push it, birth it. I get that feminine women birth babies, but we have both of those energies. So you could almost say that after we've utilized the feminine energy within us to incubate a project or a baby or an art canvas, whatever it is, we almost use our masculine energy to birth it in a linear way or in combination. A long time ago, we worshipped women as or the feminine as the creator of all things, really.
Yeah.
But I think it's both. I think we can't say, again, I think we get almost too compartmentalized. It's healthy to compartmentalize both and then to remember that it's like the yin and the yang. So I think both masculine and feminine energy has creative abilities. Absolutely. I think it's we utilize different aspects to create.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because, and you can say it like this too: masculine energy is like the sun, feminine energy is like the moon. Masculine energy is more visible, feminine energy is in the unseen, right? But you can't have the creativity within you all the time. You have to be able to share it. So maybe it's the sharing of your creativity that where the masculine energy steps in. I don't think any creation myths can really be holistic without admitting that it takes some sort of feminine energy, or else we wouldn't see all those old stories talk about this god and that goddess, and then this god and that goddess, and we have that like duo playing out.
Yeah. They both have to be in existence.
Because without the sky, there's no earth. Without the earth, what is sky? Like, it's kind of that whole, it's like learning to speak in metaphors and then taking all those metaphors and applying them to the mundane life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To make our lives better.
Yeah, it feels very much as if everyone needs to find out for themselves what it means to be in balance between those two energies, because there's no one single formula for that.
Right. And I think that's the thing that people aren't talking about as much is Okay, how do I embody my feminine? Okay, well, first of all, is your feminine even healed? Okay, is it wounded? Is it distorted? So healing it and letting it be its healthiest version. And then also looking at your masculine energy and when do you use it? And is that healed? Where did you learn that? And then allowing, like, for a lot of clients, it doesn't matter if it's like business and career or love. I I tell them to like alchemize that balance within them by like having their masculine energy say, those flowers over there look nice. Would you like me to buy those for you? And then that their feminine energy is like, I would really love that. Thank you. And then they go over and they buy themselves the flowers. And that probably seems like silly and stupid, but it's like allowing yourself to be a little crazy in your everyday life and have that inner dialogue with yourself of like, how can I create a safe container for myself with my masculine energy so that my feminine energy can do all those things? Be playful, be sensual, be creative, look into the unknown and not fear it, mastering it because she's mastered herself. Allowing things like money and love to be amplified, whether she's created it herself or it's been given to her, all of those sorts of things. And so it's really like thinking that before you can have a relationship with money or a man or a woman or any other thing outside of you, you kind of have to like master that inner courtship within you. And if you think of that as like a man and a woman or a masculine and a feminine, it starts to become easier to see how you play out patterns around you from like a disempowered or confused place.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you never stop learning. Like I feel like I'm always learning something new of how being in my feminine is uncomfortable and how I can try to jump out of it by being snarky or sarcastic or tough, because tender feels uncomfortable because I've been taught my whole life that tender is weak or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talking about your feelings is weak.
Mm.
Yeah, that's what I've been taught mainly. Disencouraged in expressing my emotions and how I feel, what I want, and just suppressing it and being in that masculine energy all the time and doing and proving my worth by just constantly being in the action mode instead of just allowing myself to just rest and relax and be vulnerable about how I feel and that I need to relax, because this is something that I've been dealing with. I've been trying to balance those two opposing energy of me trying to be more relaxed and is that your doggo?
Yeah.
The dog.
Oh, I love Labradors. They're amazing. And yeah, just trying to find that balance between doing and being, because almost my entire life, the way I've been taught by my parents I should go about life is to constantly strive and do things and challenge myself and not allowing myself to relax because things have to be hard. That's the way I've been taught the life is about. Like life is tough and you just need to get on with it, but it doesn't really have to be that way, right?
That's so interesting. It's so interesting too that we're talking about this in this way, because that's what we were talking about last week in Cosmic Hearts Club, about how the new moon in Cancer brought in this energy of like mother. And then there was a lot of past life stuff coming up for a lot of my clients over the weekend, and how we were really like unlearning the authority of the structures that we'd been given and that we continue to exist in. And we were sort of breaking them apart so that we could expand and be bigger and know more and live wider. And it's funny that you say you were taught growing up to avoid your feelings, essentially to stifle them and to not express them. Because if you think about it, if the masculine energy is expressive and is not afraid to be like, I'll use an example in love, like, hey, I like you, I'd like to take you out on a date. Would you like that? And then now the ball's in your court. It's like this back and forth. But the masculine energy is very expressive and generous. I'd love to take you out. This is when I'd love to take you out, yada, yada, yada. This is how I feel about you. And I'm showing you through action, making you an offer. So your father and mother, in the way in which they grew up, in the society that they lived in the way the world was when they were raising you or learning and growing up and then raising you, that masculine energy that you started to live from is actually not even divine masculine energy, right? Because not expressing yourself and stifling your feelings and holding back and being avoidant is actually not divine masculine energy. And so that's the thing that I was kind of alluding to, is like, how can we embody the feminine when the thing that influences our feminine, just like feminine influences masculine, is that's distorted, that's flawed, right? Like that doesn't even make sense. And so it's like both. And then a lot of us women grew up to date avoidant men. And we were like, geez, like, can't get you to like say anything, you know? And so that wasn't even real divine masculine energy. And I said to a client the other day, I said, your inner masculine energy is like, again, the line is grabbing your divine feminine by the hand and being like, come on, don't look back, eyes forward, just keep coming. And he's dragging your feminine by the hand when your feminine is a circle. And so it takes like that circle energy going up in a line to like expand and break the structures and learn more and be more and allow more. And so it's like funny that we're all using masculine and feminine energy within us, but it's like what's been taught to us over time. Neither one is really very healthy. And so it's like not just about balancing them, but about healing them, because really your masculine energy should be allowed to speak up about what your feminine energy feels, because it's expressive in its natural state when you haven't been shamed into like suppressing who you are and how you feel and what you want.
Yeah. Yeah, and if we've never been exposed to the healthy version of these energies, then we have no way of knowing, except if we tune into your live Instagram videos or join Cosmic Hearts with your But it's like you just have to accidentally figure out that that's not good, that's not normal, that's not a healed energy. Yeah, being expressive is good, and having like a flow of and an exchange of energies and ideas and being able to like create a life together that's balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if it's not in partnership, even if it's with money, I mean, you could even step into your feminine and think of your money as masculine. Like, how does your money support you? What kind of relationship are you in with your money? Do you talk to it? Do you check on it? Do you tell it what you want? Do you allow it to support you? And I think that's why so many people are constantly resisting a rebirth, because they're resisting the circular nature of their own feminine energy. And they're like, well, I don't know what's on the other side of this. It's like like the void energy within that circle, just like seasons and winter. It's a natural part of your feminine energy. We all have access to it. So if we're constantly pushing down a line, fearing, kind of circling back to allow something to break or die away, we're really doing ourselves a really big disservice. And the feminine masculine interplay within you and within your relationships, it plays out in a lot of different ways, like in manifestation, in receiving. If you've heard me say it, Emily, recently, like, get prepared, because when your blessings start coming, if you haven't been, lifting the weights and doing the inner work, you can't hold the bag of money. That's You're not gonna like get on the plane with George Clooney when he comes ding dong on your door.
Whenever you talk about it makes me laugh. That analogy gets me every time. George Clooney at your door.
Yeah, and it's so true though, because it's
who doesn't love George Clooney?
I know, he's just my go-to, I guess. Maybe he'll call me.
And that's been top of my mind lately as well. Is like so for me, talking about all this, and you talked about money's energy, right? Affluence. But like for me, it's also about money, but just I want certain things to manifest. I ask for certain things, but then I also have to surrender. And then when they start happening, I have this thing where I'm like, oh, I don't believe this is really happening. Or I look at it like I write on Medium, right? And yesterday I had a huge spike in my reads, and I was trending, like a huge spike. And or last night I looked at it, and a thought was in my head. Oh, like either it's gonna go away soon, or I like this, but I want more. It's not enough. And then I stopped myself, and I was like, no, and I actually thought of you, because you always say to really feel, to manifest what you want, you have to really feel what it's going to feel like. And but I didn't have to, because I was in the moment with it. It wasn't even in the future. It
It was
was,
in the present, but you weren't in the present because you were already worrying about it going away.
yeah, so I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't, so, but anyway, I stopped myself, and I did. I sat in gratitude, and I was like, this is great. I'm gonna feel this.
And I know this isn't the topic for today, but in that moment right there, the thing that I think that I tell clients when they start having these like viral quantum leap, like crazy things start happening, is like, what's happening in that present moment that you need to stop and soak in. It's not just the gratitude, it's like the holy shit, I'm creating the evidence that I kept waiting for, of like, that's what I want, but that's not possible. I need evidence. I need security. I need to know for sure. But in that moment, when you were looking at those numbers, you didn't manifest something out there. You designed the thing that you wanted to be here now. And then now you have new tangible experience and evidence.
Yeah.
So now the next time you want something, you don't need to look around you to be like, well, that person can have it, I can too. All you have to look at yourself and be like, I already did it. Yeah. I already created that experience and that evidence.
Yeah. But it does relate to what we're talking about, because I think, first of all, like praying or asking for something, or making a vision board, whatever, that's kind of masculine, because that's like hunting, right? That's going after something, and then surrendering and letting it come.
Receiving.
Yeah. And then when it starts to happen, surrendering in the moment. And that is hard for me, probably for a lot of people, to just be like, this is flow. And I'm gonna because I do think, isn't that a feminine aspect, to like fully enjoy pleasure? It doesn't have to be physical pleasure. It can just be the pleasure of living, right? And to me, meditation is a lot about that too, surrendering my logical, intellectual mind to just flowing.
Right, because this is something I wrote down the other day. Thoughts are electricity, and when you're sending the electric charge out, which we could say, I guess, is masculine, then how we feel and what we believe about those thoughts is from the heart space, is this, and the solar plexus, which is the feminine. So it's like you're sending the thought out, or the intention, and then how you feel about that thought is the feminine, and it magnetizes back to you. So you're kind of creating this like electric magnetic current all the time. So what you're saying makes like a lot of sense. Wanting something, or thinking about something, or saying that, expressing it, right? Affirmative language is the masculine thing. And then the feminine is like, okay, I'll wait for it. Thank you so much. Like, I'm so ready to have this. I can't wait to enjoy it. And I think that's a big thing. And that's probably why we see people win the lottery and then they lose it all. Is like, there's also a difference.
Tell us how to win the lottery.
Wow, still working on that myself. But like, I think there's this thing too of like, it's really easy to want something, get really good at like the wanting of it, and even the having it. But sometimes we lose our way with the keeping it and enjoying it and sharing it and exchanging it, which is why probably a lot of people are able to manifest large amounts of money and then they lose it all, because whatever the belief is on the other side of that is like, well, once I have it, I lose it. Or once I have it, a large bill comes in. And that's really the piece that I was talking about. Like, ding dong, George Clooney's here. Are you actually prepared to receive in your feminine energy? And I won't like go into it, but I was just on vacation with my boyfriend, and he's like the epitome of divine masculine energy. And in all that I know, and all that I teach, and all that I say, there were moments on this vacation where I was very uncomfortable. And it's so vulnerable to say and admit, that like at one point, what I've learned about being feminine or being a woman was like, okay, well, if I didn't plan for this trip, if I didn't plan it and I didn't pay for it, what's my purpose? How frigged up is that? Like literally, that's what that's what we've been doing as women. We've been buying the groceries and making the meal and cleaning the house and we've been doing all the things. We've been so proactive and we've been performing. It's not really our job to perform. And that's why sex is so hard for so many women, because we're still in that performance. How do I look? Is he happy? Da 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 da. But what about us? Like, where is the pleasure? Where is the leaning back? Where is the enjoyment? And so I was like riding in the car, sitting in this experience that I didn't even know I asked for. Like I called in and I daydreamed about and I manifested the kind of man that would be like, baby, I'm going to take you on a trip and I'm well traveled and you don't have to do a thing. You don't have to lift a finger. I know where to go. You can relax. I won't have anxiety flying or stress or like, where are we going? What are we doing? What needs to be done? And I literally was in that experience that I had daydreamed up. And it was uncomfortable because I was like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. So often we're just not allowing ourselves to receive and just to enjoy it, the pleasure of it.
And so I was literally in the car, he's driving. And now, mind you, I said I wanted to go to a metaphysical store in Florida. I said it one time, and we were driving to an art museum, and we pulled in as I'm saying these notes that I took on my phone about this very topic. He pulls in and I go, this isn't the art museum. And he goes, no, you said you want to go to a metaphysical store. So here we are. He had heard my want and he had looked it up, put it in the map. We had left in time to stop by. And that's not an experience I've seen in masculine energy in my own life. Yeah. I might have to say it and then remind and then eventually just do it myself. And he just did it. Why? Because he's generous and he wanted to show me that he's paying attention and express like, I care about you. So let me show you. Right?
Right. He cares about you and he knows how to show it and he's not scared. I had that same experience with Kieran, who you guys know from several months ago. He, at some point I said to him, like, I was on the couch and he said, no, you sit down, I'm going to take care of this. And I was like, wow. I said, you are amazing. And he said, baby, if this is like the best you've ever been treated, then that's just sad.
Oh, that gives me goosebumps.
And I got goosebumps. And I was like, oh my God. It's true though. That is also kind of sad. But it was just like, he was like, you relax, you surrender, you've done a lot. I'm just going to go take care of this for you. It's not a big deal. It's like an equal, balanced life. It makes sense.
And I think that's the thing is it gets very uncomfortable to receive. And that's the thing that I think we all need to undo. Like riding in that car, I was like realizing women are used to receiving in their feminine energy only in a victim mentality. We're taught to be the damsel in distress. And so if we want it, that's not as important as if we need it. And so we get really used to doing a lot of things for ourselves and only asking for help or receiving help when it is that help. And we get in this like tornado of like distorted masculine energy and wounded feminine energy where we're like, it's either rescue or be rescued. And it's like, well, there's a lot outside of like rescue or be rescued. And that's very survival mode. And I think we just need to kind of get out of that, learn how to satiate our own needs and learn how to like have that interplay so that we're not just receiving when it's from a disempowered state. Like if you feel disempowered when you're receiving, that's on you. You got to kind of work through that because receiving should actually be a very powerful feeling, kind of like back to that queen analogy. It's your right. You deserve it. And you don't deserve it because you went through hard shit. You just deserve it just because you do. Like it's just a natural thing. I think that's like the stuff that we have to work through individually.
So many of us think that we don't deserve things. We don't deserve good things to happen to us. So we then find it really hard to actually receive anything and we deny it almost.
Yeah.
And see, that's the very thing that I was thinking about on vacation is like, poo-poo on you, Lindsay, to finally be in alignment to receive something you wanted. And then it's here and you're telling the universe, never mind, I don't want it. Right? Because I'm resisting it. And so like, here it is, I have it. And rather than hold it and appreciate it and be like, that's friggin' right. Absolutely. This is mine. This is lovely. Then I start to resist it with all sorts of like guilt and shame and disempowerment. And all of that is just fake. All of that is just learned over time. All of that is mine to work through, because to receive something in manifestation and then resist it when you get it is very convoluted. That confuses the universe.
It's conflicting, for the universe.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What the hell do you want?
Right. Right.
I wanted this. What is happening?
Okay, I'm not going to send you this anymore.
Right. And that's why we manifest something and then it slips through our fingers, because we're not preparing.
Yeah, just like you said. And this is what happens to lottery winners, that they lose the money because they're not prepared to hold that gift they being presented with.
Right. Or like love, like, oh, I want love. Oh, I want love. Okay, well, what are you doing to prepare to actually have it and be the person you want to be when you're in partnership? Like, that's another great example, is like, okay, well, then it comes in and then you perpetuate the story of like, well, it came in and then I lost it. Okay, well, you're used to the trauma of like making up and breaking up, or having something and losing it. What about a new story of like receiving it and keeping it and sharing it over time?
No drama. And no, like, it's just like actually a good thing.
Easy.
And sustain it. Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
this was so eye-opening, to be honest. Like there's been so many thoughts and of the recent situations that have been happening in my life, and they just make so much sense right now.
Like aha moments. Yeah. And then now that it makes sense to you, now you'll be able to like pull it apart and resew it together and all that fun stuff, all that other work.
Yeah.
On that note, like, anyone listening, how can they work with you, Linds, and how can you help them specifically in this on this topic of developing divine feminine balance and healing? Like, how can people find you and work with you, and what do you do with your clients?
Well, the best way to find me is Instagram, hands down. That's where I'm most active, and that handle is, what is that handle? The Radiant Linds.
I think so.
Am I supposed to know that? No, I think
probably.
I think
we put it in the description as well.
Yeah,
in the description, so people can reach you. Yeah,
that would be great. And then you can book lots of different things with me: an energy alignment with Reiki and intuitive healing, or a personal reading. But my favorite way to work with people is in the higher level, because then it's like this, right? It's like, what's specific to you. We get into like past life recall type stuff. Lots of information comes through, and it's more about not just healing, it's about that conversation with the energetic support, and then the activating all those little strengths that help somebody sort of dance the duality of their life. And so once you get to Instagram, you can find all the other things, but my website is radiant-revolution.com, and a lot of things will be changing in my services and my membership, but come hang out on Instagram. I go on there a lot and chat, and it'll be fun.
So yeah, it is the Radiant Linds, by the way.
There we go.
And I mean, I have been in Linds's Facebook group, Cosmic. It's still on Facebook, right? The Cosmic Heart.
It is. Yep.
And that's wonderful. She does like monthly readings. We didn't even talk about card readings that she does that are amazing, and she talks about like moon cycles and what's coming up. Her readings are insanely accurate and helpful.
In Cosmic Hearts, we actually do a week ahead. So every new moon and every full moon, we either do like a fire release or a cord cutting, or we do fun little like intention setting stuff together as a group. But then we also do a week ahead predictive readings every Sunday, and we go day by day by day. And so that's really cool, because people are like, oh, Wednesday came around and you were right. And then I knew how to manage it, if you will. So that gets fun.
I love those. And I love it when you go live on Instagram. So
I need to do that more often. I haven't been on lately.
you're busy. We get it. But, yeah, this has been wonderful. So
Has been amazing.
thank
It's
you.
been so fun. Thank you for having me.
And again, my name's Emily, and my co-host here is Gosha. And find Linds on her website, radiant-revolution.com. So
Yep.
Tune in for the next episode. We hope you guys keep listening, and thank you.
Thank you for being with us and for your
Absolutely.
attention.